Hi, I'm Tim. Welcome to Watchbox, and thanks for logging on. If you love this watch, email me, tmosso@thewatchbox.com. It's in the description below. Your purchase and pricing email question line for buying this or any watch you see on any Watchbox platform. Please reach out to me directly. Email tmosso@thewatchbox.com for pricing. This is a momentous occasion for the Watchbox channel. On reviews, I have never presented one of the Micro Artist Studio Credor or Grand Seiko watches, and today that changes. This is the Grand Seiko Spring Drive 8-day Power Reserve SBGD202, launched in 2017, a follow-up to 2016's Platinum H-Day. It is a lovely and lush rose gold, 43 millimeters in diameter, 13.7 millimeters thick. Most of that, as you can see, in the loft of the box section sapphire. This would be about a 12 millimeter thick watch otherwise. It is from lug tip to lug tip, 51.4 millimeters, and then 22 millimeters between the lugs. Throw it on the wrist. It is a large watch for a dress timepiece, but not bereft of elegance. I recommend it for a wrist of 15 centimeters circumference or larger, though you can see with the stepped case flank, it will slide underneath the dress cuff, and on my 16 centimeter wrist, especially as I get further from the camera, the proportioning of the watch looks better and better. Again, 15 centimeter circumference wrist or larger. A very, very special, very, very handsome watch, and that's just the outside. Taking a quick look at the hardware and the software. A high-grade alligator leather strap, semi-gloss, large rectangular scale, monotone stitch, dark brown, and you can see sheer cut sides showing you just how much leather Grand Seiko is giving you. A bit of a quirk on a lot of Grand Seiko watches: when you have a precious metal clasp, you'll find it's actually made in Italy by a specialist contractor that produces these clasps for Grand Seiko in Italy. Just about everything else, down to the lubricants of this watch, is part of the vertically integrated Seiko Grand Seiko empire and is made in Japan. The case is beautifully made and beautifully finished. As you can see, there were some fingerprints and smears on it earlier, but it's clean now. Zaratsu polish, they call it. It is a tin plate manual finishing. It is executed by holding the surface to be milled against a spinning tin plate on a European-made Zaratsu machine, and the foremost practitioners of this black polishing art are now in Japan, and they work for Grand Seiko and a number of other companies inside of Japan that specialize in black polishing cases to a mirror shine. Optically flawless and gorgeous. This case is handmade, and that's just the beginning. You can see the lugs are rather stubby. There's a little bit of a curvature to them. They curve around the wrist, and then there's a transitional bevel. The mid case features a stepped bezel that has a vertical portion, and then it's conical as it approaches a box section sapphire that is dramatically cambered to give you a premium look, as well as a little bit of a vintage aesthetic of an old school plexiglass. On the dial, we have a dial that is, first, it looks like it might be a venturine, but what you're looking at here is a galvanized dark base. It's galvanized black, and then on top of that, multiple layers of lacquer. And I don't know how well you can see this on camera, but then gold flakes, metallic flakes, are scattered across the dial to give that bottomless cosmos look that you see on an aventurine dial, as though you're staring deep into the stars. You get that effect with this dial. So this is a handcrafted dial in a hand-finished case. Even the dial furniture, the logo, the hands, the indices, individually diamond polished with micrometric milling tools by artisans who create these parts all day long. And so we have these handmade components that twinkle like cut gems, beautifully faceted, and the shine, the faceting, the regularity of the work along the bevels is spectacular. No date dial, very clean. Note the continuously smooth sweep of spring drive, a distinctive technology of Seiko and Grand Seiko. Now, it does feature hacking or stop seconds, but that is just the beginning. Turn it all over, and again, we have one of those Micro Artist Studio calibers that are basically what you would find on Credor, the highest level of Credor. And you can see, surprisingly, this watch is 100 meters water resistant, so you get a lot for your money, including capability. You can see the image of the mountains that ring the Shiojiri area in Nagano Prefecture, where the Micro Artist Studio is located, and so you have this image of the landscape over a dial, or I should say a case back, that is beautifully longitudinally satin finished. If you look at the beveling, this is all finished with a piece of wood, and Grand Seiko's Micro Artist Studio actually studied up with Philippe Dufour prior to embarking on the modern series of Micro Artist Studio hand-finished calibers. So the standard, what you see right here, the standard of what you see here is as good as you will find in the Valet du Jour. You can see that beveling's a mile wide and mirrored. We have a case-back power reserve indicator, of course, 8 days of power reserve, 3 mainspring barrels, 56 joules. It is accurate to 10 seconds per month. It is a spring drive system, which means it has 3 barrels, all of the action of the hands driven by the barrels, the drivetrain mechanically driven, all of the energy in the movement. The potential energy is spring potential energy, no motors, no capacitors, no batteries. But the drive of the train spins a unidirectional governing wheel that wakes up a quartz oscillator, which applies a braking force, electromagnetic braking force, to the wheel. So if the watch is running too fast, the braking force will slow it down. If it's running too slow, the braking force will diminish and speed it up. And again, a standard spring drive of this era would have been accurate to 15 seconds a month. This is a special grade, the 9R01A2, and it is accurate to 10 seconds per month. Blued screws, black polished countersinks for all of the jewel sinks, as well as the individual screws. Absolutely first-rate stuff. You could see that all of the screws have been fired in a kiln. They don't have those ugly little bare slots that you find on chemically blued screws. This is literally as good as it gets. Reach out to Team Mosso at thewatchbox.com for purchase and pricing details of a handcrafted and hand-finished watch as good as anything you'll find in the Vallée du Joux.